Did Trump really get rich off tariffs?
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad. He's in financials. I've always been following.
Some say that while America paid billions more for imported goods, he and his buddies were rubbing their hands with glee. But is it true, or just another conspiracy theory? In this video, I'm breaking down what tariffs really are, how they worked under Trump, and, most importantly, who actually profited. Did he and his inner circle really pocket billions? Or is it all just media smoke and mirrors? Because when money's involved, the truth is never black and white. And today we're digging deep to find it. Buckle up, because we're diving into one of the murkiest corners of American politics, where economics, personal gain, and a few well-hidden tricks all come into play. All right, before we figure out whether Trump and his buddies made billions off tariffs, we need to understand one simple thing. What the heck is a tariff? A tariff is a tax that gets slapped on a product when it comes from another country. Picture this. A chair is made in China and shipped to the United States. Before it can be sold in an American store, the US government says, hey, if you want to sell that chair here, you got to pay me a tax first. That tax is called a customs tariff. The goal is pretty straightforward. Make that imported product more expensive, so people and businesses are more likely to buy stuff that's made in the USA. Like, why would I buy a Chinese chair that cost me $110 when I can get one made in Ohio for $100? Tariffs can hit anything: steel, washing machines, cars, farm products, electronics, basically anything that crosses a border. In theory, they're meant to protect the domestic economy. In practice, well, that depends on how you use them and who's calling the shots. Imposing a tariff can have three main effects. It protects local producers because it makes foreign competition more expensive. It raises prices for consumers because guess who ends up paying those taxes? Yup, you. It can trigger retaliation. If you slap tariffs on me, I'll slap them on you. And that's how the infamous trade war begins. And that's exactly what Trump did during his time in office. A full-blown tariff war, especially against China. But here's where it gets interesting. Who actually profited from all this? And more importantly, did Trump impose tariffs for America or for his own wallet? When Donald Trump said America first, he wasn't joking. And one of the ways he tried to protect America was by declaring war on the entire world, economically speaking. In 2018, Trump launched a full-on trade war against China. But not just China, also the European Union, Canada, Mexico, basically anyone exporting goods to the US. So what actually happened? Trump slapped tariffs, basically taxes, on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of foreign products. Like, want to export steel or aluminum to the US? Boom, 25% or 10% tariff. Chinese TVs, extra fee. German industrial parts, more taxes. The message was clear. If you want to sell in America, it's going to cost you. This triggered a chain reaction. On one hand, some American industries got protection from foreign competition. On the other, many US companies that relied on imported materials or products suddenly had to pay more. So what did they do? They raised their prices, or they laid people off. Yup. Because the tariffs are paid by American importers, not Chinese manufacturers. So in the end, who really paid the price? The consumer. You, me, anyone buying stuff. And farmers, they got hit hard. China retaliated with tariffs of its own, targeting American soybeans. The result? Trump had to pump billions of dollars into federal aid to save farmers. From a trade war he started himself. Kind of like setting your kitchen on fire and then showing up as the firefighter. According to the Peterson Institute, Trump's trade wars cost American businesses around $316 billion in tariffs. And the economy slowed down. Some companies moved production elsewhere, like Vietnam or Mexico. So much for America first, and hello again, Asia. So now the real question, did Trump actually serve the interests of everyday Americans? Or did he just shift the problem, creating a system where someone, maybe someone close to him, made money, while the average person ended up paying more for their washing machine? Now we're getting to the juicy part. We figured out what tariffs are, and we've seen how Trump threw them around like confetti on New Year's Eve. But the real question is, who actually made money from all this? And here's where things get interesting. First, Trump still had financial interests in some of his companies while he was president. Technically, he handed over management to his kids, but he never sold his shares. So basically, I'm not running it anymore, but the cash still goes to the Trump household. Clever, right? Second, according to several investigative reports, companies linked to Trump or close to his associates may have benefited indirectly from the tariffs. For example, when the U.S. slapped tariffs on Chinese goods, some American companies that made the same stuff suddenly faced less competition and could raise their prices. Guess what? In some cases, those companies were tied to Republican donors or Trump world allies. A concrete case. In 2018, the U.S. aluminum industry gained big from tariffs. A hedge fund connected to Wilbur Ross, Trump's Secretary of Commerce, had stakes in companies in that very sector. Coincidence? Maybe, but man, what luck. Third point, American farmers who were hit hard by China's retaliatory tariffs received billions in subsidies from the Trump administration. So basically, I drag you into a trade war, then I hand you public money to plug the hole. Who handled those contracts? Who decided where the money went? Some say there was a fair amount of favoritism going on. An investigation by Forbes and the New York Times revealed that some members of Trump's inner circle had financial ties to companies that benefited from tariffs or post-tariff incentives, like certain agricultural businesses that received the now famous subsidies meant to offset losses from the trade war. And that opens another door. Some argue that the tariff war created a system of guided redistribution where those who lost out were helped with public funds. And guess who got the biggest share? Often it was companies with close ties to the GOP, or at least friendly with Republican circles. But hold on, this doesn't necessarily mean Trump broke the law. In the US, political conflicts of interest aren't always punishable, especially if there's no direct evidence of a quid pro quo. That's why many analysts describe it as political environmental enrichment, rather than personal enrichment. In other words, he didn't steal, but he did create an environment where his allies thrived, while his opponents struggled. So, is this story true or false? Let's just say it's not entirely false, but it's definitely not 100% confirmed either. It lives in a gray area, one that reeks of favoritism, but still hasn't made it to court. The doubt remains, and where there's doubt, there's usually smoke. And where there's smoke, sometimes there are billions. All right, let's recap real quick. Trump used tariffs as a weapon against China and, according to him, to protect the American economy. But some say there may have been a personal payday behind the scenes. We've seen that some people did profit. Investment funds tied to his allies, politically connected companies, and industries that, strangely enough, benefited directly from his decisions. But and this matters. To this day, there's no hard, undeniable proof that Trump personally pocketed money from the tariffs. So what's the verdict? Was it all part of a master plan to defend America? Or a genius move to make money and leave no fingerprints? As always, the ball's in your court. Drop a comment below. Was Trump a patriot or a hustler with a nose for business? If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because in the next episodes, we're diving even deeper into the twisted world of politics and money. And trust me, it's not gonna be pretty.